first thing I want to do is share the dungeon. You'll hear me refer to being down in the dungeon a lot. That's the stairs coming down to the dungeon. And you're going to find out here in a second why I call it the dungeon. So coming down is a little bit interesting. Old steps. Got to be a little careful. Very steep too. Over in there, we've got a little bit of laundry area. But more specifically, I've taken over this area where I do my case cleaning, both dry tumbling and wet tumbling. Now as we back out of there, I want you to see something. See that ductwork? I've got this camera set on a tripod that puts it at about just a little under 5 feet tall, 5 feet high. And you see how close that seems to be? Okay, well, I'm 6'1", and that kind of presents a bit of a problem. I find myself feeling like Quasimodo quite often. So once I get over in that area, I try to stay there for a little bit. And then we're going to come on around this way. And you notice there's more of that ductwork. But see that pipe going across there? That's a vent pipe from the furnace. And that dude is even lower than the ductwork. It's a problem. But upside is, I don't have to go through that spot very often. So over here, I've got a filing cabinet with some, there's no files in there. Top drawer is some trays. It's reloading trays, bullet trays for finished bullets, all that kind of thing. Next shelf, next drawer down here is containers, all kind of little Tupperware containers, Chinese carry-out plastic trays that I've salvaged for different uses. You know, you need small parts trays or whatever. And then the next one down is that's where I've got hulls for 12 gauge reloading, and plus the 12 gauge with wads. Bottom drawer is empty right now. And then up here on top, we've got components for black powder and BB reloading of 12 gauge and 20 gauge brass hulls. A couple of refrigerators have been here since we moved in 18, 19 years ago. But over the years, you know, they don't work. So I pretty much gutted them and converted them to storage cabinets. Now we go in limbo. And once I get past it, yeah, I don't go through there very often. Once I'm in here in the good area. So you've seen some of these videos, some of you have seen little short videos before of my original workbench that my wife bought me. We bought that at Harbor Freight. We buy a lot of stuff at Harbor Freight. It's a great solid workbench. Got the vise on the end of it. Don't mind the mess on it. I just got done kind of redoing this area, and those are some things I'm working on where to put. Some other things that you've seen some video of, possibly by now, is my Harbor Freight utility cart that I did have set up as a reloading, a mobile reloading area. Right now, I'm using it just to hold my presses while they're not mounted, and I'll probably end up using it just to move components from over on the other side of the low area. Next up, we have storage. Little storage rack, and down here we've got some cleaning supplies, and have a parts bath basket and container to soak parts in, or whatever that might need to be soaked for soaking things in mineral spirits. You got some gloves and towels, and then mineral spirits and mineral oil. And then up here we have a little box to separate off for some books. And we get into some tools. Specifically, very important to reloading is my caliper, and you'll see it come into play in a lot of my videos later on. And over here we have our different dies and loading kits. These are Lee loading kits. We've got 45 ACP, 30-30 Winchester, the rifle cartridge. We've got 9mm Luger, 38 Special. These are all for reloading without a press. And then we've got two of these old hand loading Lee 12 gauge loaders. You never know when you might need to load without a press. And if you've watched a couple of videos, my first couple of videos, I showed reloading using caveman type tools, reloading 12 gauge. Here we've got our dies for our loading presses. We've got 223 Remington, also 5.56. We've got 30-30 Winchester rifle cartridge. I've just started reloading. 45 ACP. 38 Special. I've actually got two 38 Special kits, die kits. One of them has never been used. Caught it on eBay, so cheap I couldn't pass it up. So I just threw some electrical tape around it to remind me which one that is. And if this one ever wears out, which I've never heard of Lee dies wearing out, but yeah, could happen, I suppose. This is for 38 Special and 357 Magnum, and then for 9mm Luger as well. Next to that, we have back here, we have bullets. We got some 9mm, two different kinds of 9mm. We got some 38 caliber. We've got some 30 cal that's used in the 30-30 Winchester. And then we've also got some number 7.5 shot antimony and lead shot for shot shells, and some steel BB shot. You're going to see during the course of my videos, you're going to see me talk a lot about different products and different manufacturers. I want you to know right now, I am in no way, shape, or form paid by, supported by, or even acknowledged by any manufacturer or vendor. Everything that you see me talk about, whether it's Lee, Lyman, Hornady, whatever, I've bought this on my own dime, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I think of it. Well, one of the things is Hornady one-shot case lube for reloading what we call brass cases, handgun, rifle, whatever. this is really good stuff. You use this and it helps your rounds slide in and out of the die a little bit easier. The Lee dies have carbide on the inner edge of the dies, but I've noticed that even though it's supposed to keep your shells from being able to stick, I still have encountered some sticking. The Hornady One Shot keeps that from happening, and it's super easy to use. Smells okay. And then also from Hornady, there is Unique Case Lube. This is a paste lubricant, and you just barely touch your finger to it and touch it to the rounds. And I'll tell you what, I really wish you could smell this, because it really smells good. Yeah, it's fresh and clean. What it is, it's actually it's just wax form lanolin. We've also got some sodium silicate. This is an adhesive. I use that when I do the black powder or Pyrodex. It's actually Pyrodex black powder substitute, and BB shot shells that you've seen my video on reloading that. But sodium silicate is also known by its old school name of water glass. And then on up here we got primers. We've got 209 primers for shot shells. We've got large rifle primers. I've never heard of White River primers before, but the few reviews I've seen on them say that they're good. One of the things that I really like about the White River primers is they are proudly made in the USA. I'll go with that any day. Then we've also got Winchester large pistol primers and small pistol primers. Next up is Hodgdon Pyrodex. That's my black powder substitute. That's what I use for my Pyrodex, as I call it, BPBB, black powder and BB shot. And then some Hodgdon long shot. Long shot is a shotgun propellant, and it's also used in a few handgun loads. IMR 3031, so primarily a rifle powder. So between that and the long shot and the Pyrodex, we've got basically all of my long guns are covered. The shotguns and the black powder, including flintlocks and rifles. So then for our handgun loads, we've got some Winchester 231 and Winchester 244. They're basically the same. They're both handgun powders. They also are made in the USA, which is a good thing. In fact, there's a Winchester facility, not the propellants or the smokeless powders, but there is a Winchester manufacturing facility about 40 miles from me. Quite proud of living close to a Winchester manufacturing plant. But the 231 is a little bit slightly older blend of powder. It is clean burning, high energy. It's for handgun, mainly for handgun loads. And then there's also the 244. 244 is a little bit faster burning than the 231. But it also helps prevent fouling in the fact that it's got a wind clean is their term for the way that they manufacture the powder. And then this little guy right here, that's a powder trickler. He actually belongs down here with the tools. So I'm still in the process of getting everything set up and arranged how I want it. So moving on around here, we've got my latest addition to the area, and that is an old solid oak kitchen table that I found on Marketplace, and in kind of rough shape, but picked it up for I think it was like 25 bucks, and it's heavy, it's solid, like I said, solid oak. So it was the perfect place to make a workstation down here. Got my laptop where I can review some of these videos, and I can as I'm loading, if I have a question about something, I can look it up online. I've also got some electronic resources that I've built to aid in my reloading and with this channel, so I can access that. Back there is my Mech 600 Junior. I don't know why they call it 600 Junior. It looks like a full-size press to me, but that's black powder reloading press. And again, Harbor Freight, the wooden tool chest that my wife bought me. She buys me a lot of great stuff. And of course, my work light, it can be tipped up to shine out in this direction, and my old radio, and some bins for dies and components and just pieces, parts. And then down here on the table, there's another item that I want to point out from a manufacturer. Inline Fabrication. They make this awesome system for being able to switch out presses if you have more than one press, which I do. And the way this works, and move my throne out of the way. I started off with a Lee, what's called a classic cast single stage press, and I'm trying to figure out how to mount it, and I was struggling. Ran across this option. Slip it in under there, drop the rods in back here, put a pair of wing nuts on, and it will hold this solid enough that I can actually grab this and lift this table. But that gets you ready to work. After I got started doing the single stage, and we'll talk at length later about a single stage versus turret or progressive press. The single stage is basically you put your die in, you put your shell holder in, and you do a step on each of the pieces of brass that you're working with. Now, that's not bad, but it gets a little, I don't know, tedious. And I want you to note how high this is. This Lee has, I believe, from research I did, the highest opening where you can actually take this collet out. You can actually do 50 BMG on this press. So even though I've moved on to a turret press, I'm never giving up my Lee Classic Cast. So next, I transitioned. I found this old Lyman, called a Lyman Spar T. It's manufactured back in the 60s. And this whole boy, when I got him, found him on eBay, very inexpensive. He belonged to someone's grandfather and then father, and he wasn't interested in having it, using it. Found it in their garage. Decided to sell it. All of these stations, the threads were rusted. Everything down here, you can see there's still a little bit of discoloration. I got all the rust and pitting off of the arm. Took everything completely apart. Took the head apart. You can see how it rotates. A nice detent going around there. Locks in nice, but yet moves when you move it. The handle is freed up enough that just the weight of the handle will bring the ram up. So very well, again, 6 hours of soaking in mineral spirits will do wonders. I'll share with you these parts that came with it, and I want to point out how rusted these are. Now this is after 6 hours of soaking in mineral spirits and brushing with wire brushes, and I got everything freed up. They thread in. They thread into the press without a problem. They, let's see, slip it in, thread it right in. And of course, I didn't soak this head in the mineral spirits, though I could have, since I had it apart. But I brushed everything down in here, soaked it down with, put mineral spirits on a piece of the shop towel and stuffed it down in there to soak it, and then brushed it. Took the head off, cleaned 50-year-old grease out of there, re-greased it, got everything back together, and she works just fine. Now this part up here, this is a powder measure. It didn't come with the press. I bought it on Amazon, caught a deal on it. Starting out, I had two different Lee powder measures. One was their super cheap one, and that particular one, within a week, I decided it was junk. It was hard to adjust. It was hard to get consistent. It had plastic parts, and it was worth what I paid for it, which wasn't much. So I moved up. I thought, I like the Lee press a lot. I like the looks and sound of Lee, and I do copious amounts of research online, on YouTube and forums and such. Before I do anything with this, and so I bought the next level up of the Lee powder measures, and that one was better, but it had a problem in that while it was better, it was actually a metal body. The adjustment on it was a nightmare to try to get adjusted. And that one I bought. I caught it very, very, very inexpensive on eBay. And one of the comments from the seller was that it was difficult to adjust and they couldn't get it accurate. When I took it apart, it appeared that somebody had taken it apart. Taken the adjustment part apart at some point, and didn't get it put back together right. Well, I put it back together the right way, and it was better, but it still has some plastic parts in places that I wouldn't really like plastic parts. So I went ahead and bought this Lyman. Everything I read said that the Lyman was absolutely top of the line. You know, a lot of people swear by RCBS, but I guess they're okay. RCBS, if you want different powders for pistol, powders for rifle, you have to buy a different cylinder. The Lyman, you don't. It is adjustable from here. I can actually adjust this from absolute 0. It won't even drop a single grain of powder. I can get down to like 3 grains, 2 grains, and I can max this thing out where I can load 50 BMG off of this with whatever powder I want to use. So again, it's one of those things that, as my wife constantly reminds me, you know, don't cheap yourself out too soon, because you're going to end up spending money anyway. What I paid for this powder measure was about the same as the 2 Lees that I bought. In fact, it might have been a little bit less than the 2 Lees that I bought. But now I have my turret press. Turret press, you put dies in these stations. In my case, for handgun ammunition, I start here with a depriming and full-length resizing die. That also, after you go up and I'll show you actual loading, is at some point, because I'm not trying to monetize this channel, so I don't care what YouTube likes or doesn't like when it comes to showing the actual loading process start to finish. They don't like gun channels, but guess what? I'm a gun channel, and if they don't like my channel, all they can do is demonetize me. I'm not monetized anyway. So, but you run your shell up, put your primer pot underneath it, and seat the primer. Then you move to the next station, and you case mouth expand. You open the case mouth just a little bit so that it'll receive the bullet. You drop around here, and you drop your powder in. You have to get your powder measure set first, obviously. You know, after some testing, make sure that you're getting a consistent charge. Move around to here. You seat your bullet. You can move on around to here and do your crimp. The die set that I have, I actually seat the bullet and crimp all in one step. Beautiful thing about this turret is I've got a stand for this powder measure. So in theory, I could set my powder measure off here to the side and run 2 3-die sets. So I could have, say, my 2 main ones that I do are 9mm and 38 special. So I could have 9mm and 38 special, my 2 3-die sets, and just run my powder measure off over here on the side. Not a problem. And at some point I may decide to do that. Of course, I got my little basket here of pieces, parts. And while we're here, since this is the main main item that gets mounted in this station, these are the wing nuts that I mentioned earlier. go up underneath here. Sometimes I struggle working upside down. There it goes. You know, I said that you could, that mount, I can move the table with it. So anyway, that's my dungeon. Now I've introduced you to the dungeon. Let me introduce you to me. You can call me Jay. And I am 1791 actual. Welcome to the party. See you on the other side.